Gold kept at home is not subject to political manipulation, and it is the only financial asset that runs zero counterparty risk. Today, we are on a new monetary path. If we do nothing, we will be in a fully programmed, controllable surveillance economy.
Lynette Zang, a respected voice in the world of finance and precious metals, sheds light on the growing urgency to protect personal wealth in an era of uncertainty. In her recent discussion, she emphasizes that gold, especially when held physically at home, stands as the ultimate safeguard against political and financial manipulation. Unlike digital currencies or paper assets, gold carries no counterparty risk. It exists beyond the reach of governments, institutions, or programmable monetary systems. She warns that the world is shifting toward a new kind of economy, one increasingly driven by surveillance, control, and centralized power. Digital currencies and programmable money could limit individual freedom by tracking, restricting, or even freezing access to personal finances. In contrast, gold remains the one form of true decentralized money: private, tangible, and independent. Her message is simple yet powerful. Act before the system changes completely. In times when trust in institutions is fading, holding gold at home is not just about wealth. It's about sovereignty. If you found this insight valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more empowering financial wisdom and strategies for protecting your future.
We will be in a fully programmed, controllable surveillance economy where you will own nothing, which is what we were warned about by Thomas Jefferson and more recently by the World Economic Forum. But if we come together, we can demand, we can get our power back. And I say, look in the mirror and ask yourself, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Do you really want to go back to feudal times where you have a handful of people that own everything and you have to lease and you have to give all the efforts of your work away? Or you have to fall in line and do exactly what you're being demanded to do? That is not for me. That is not what I want for my children, or your children, or you, or anybody. Together we can move mountains. Together we can get gold, redeemable gold, back in the system again. The first overnight devaluation was at 10%, and now I'm going back to the 70s, but the first overnight devaluation was roughly a 10% devaluation. Not super noticeable. And the real next move, more than 10%. And that was just barely more than a year later. The revaluation wasn't about increasing gold's value. Not at all. It was about devaluing the dollar to reflect its declining purchasing power and to help the U.S. manage its growing trade deficits and inflation. Because if the dollar is weaker against other currencies, it makes the goods that we export seem cheaper. Even today, the U.S. Treasury still lists gold at $42.22 per ounce on its book, which is why this new American Eagle has a face value of $50. You can't buy it for $50, but did you ever wonder why? Because officially, gold is still held at $42.22. When asked what the devaluation has to do with gold, well, look at this. This is out of an article. And here's what they say. Inasmuch as the United States is no longer willing to back dollars with gold, these changes are largely political gesture. Yeah, because nothing is supposed to change. But geez, Louise, in the same article, what did they say? But The price of gold in the free market for such things as filling teeth or earrings or space flight equipment has risen to approximately double the old official price.
In this powerful message, Lynette Zang delivers a passionate warning about the direction our global economy is heading. She explains that we are moving toward a fully programmable, controllable surveillance economy, a system where ownership and personal freedom could soon be relics of the past. Drawing on lessons from history and the concerns of modern economists, she reminds us that figures like Thomas Jefferson once cautioned against the concentration of power in the hands of a few. Zang urges individuals to stand together and reclaim control, not just for themselves, but for future generations. She connects this struggle to the importance of gold as a tool for financial sovereignty, explaining how past devaluations of the US dollar expose the fragility of fiat systems. Gold, she argues, reflects truth and stability in a manipulated market. So, with that foundation, let's get into the interview.
They say two absolutely opposing things that causes the reader to have cognizant dissonance, which means they're confused, and most of the time they do nothing. So this was a tool to get the public to adopt it and accept what was happening and not do anything about it. Plus, we had Federal Reserve notes. Everything looked the same. But frankly, everything was very, very different. This is the spot gold chart back then. This slide shows the spot gold price rose from $40 to $100 as the spot contract was just beginning to test its wings. Along with a shift from a fixed peg to a free-floating system, so fixed peg from Bretton Woods 1948 to 1971, all currencies were in lockstep because they were pegged directly to the dollar, so there was no fluctuation. But in 1971, they created free floating, and that's when we got the dollar's value against the euro or the yen, etc. Right? That was a new thing in the 70s. At the same time, the then just economist Alan Greenspan wrote prolifically about the importance of the gold standard. And so he said, in the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. There is no safe store of value. Of course, once he became Fed chair, he kind of changed his tune, and then he did his famous Fed speak to confuse and hide what was really happening. And he just talked in circles, and nobody could understand him, so that was Fed speak.
In the aftermath of economic shifts and monetary manipulation, the illusion of stability became the greatest deception. What once looked familiar, the dollar, the notes, the promises, had fundamentally changed. The public was lulled into complacency, told two opposing truths until confusion replaced action. It wasn't coincidence, it was strategy. As currencies detached from gold and floated freely, real value began to drift away from everyday people. Inflation quietly eroded savings, and financial language, once clear, became a maze of Fed speak designed to obscure, not inform. The system moved forward, reshaped by those who understood it best, while the rest simply trusted what looked the same on the surface. Today, those lessons remain more relevant than ever. Understanding what truly holds value and who controls it determines our financial freedom. Stay informed, stay prepared, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights.